What's up, fam? Extraordinary Life with Elijah, and you're watching this video on Sunday, September 14th, 2025 at 10:50 a.m. MST. This week, God is my extra, and I am the ordinary. This is part one or part two. I'm not sure which one is which of a video I posted back in 2022 on living water. I've let this word sit and age for 3.5 years until now. But God was showing me so much stuff back in 2022 that was just mind-blowing. The new revelation that he's giving me in regards to his plans in covenant intimacy and how he's working that out throughout all humanity in revealing the fullness of heaven's coming. At the beginning of time, when God made the heavens and the earth and he made man, he had a creative muse with himself that he was going to make man in his image and likeness, and he made man like him. Right after that annunciation, that creative muse within himself, there's the declaration, the first topic broached with mankind by God was in regards to sex. He said, "Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, and subdue it." Now, there's a lot of things involved within filling the earth that are much beyond just sitting around and having sex and pumping out babies. But sex is very central to pushing that forward. And so out of that, I had this beautiful insight with God about the war that's being waged against darkness here on earth. It says that there was a war in heaven. Satan decided that he was going to be as the Most High, at that time called Lucifer, which actually means morning star. He was the worship leader of heaven. It was the zenith of all that God had made. He delighted so much, though, in his perfection that he became proud and decided to take something for himself, which was equality with God. Therefore, God threw Satan down. He cast him down to the earth. And then he made man alongside of Satan and his fallen angels on earth to make an example of death, darkness, sin, destruction, depravity through the gentleness of heaven's coming through covenant intimacy. Now, I love the fact that God has been triumphing over all of his enemies through very humiliating means, that Jesus went to the cross, being persecuted and falsely accused through mock trials, stripped bare, the King of the universe hung in shame on a sinner's cross. It's so foolish and so humiliating in its context, and yet Jesus gently lays his life down on the cross and tears time and eternity in half, triumphing over his enemies, shaming them, putting them to public disgrace through God's ways. God's been doing that since the beginning of time, and that here at the beginning of time that he wages a war against the enemies of humanity through covenant intimacy. Now, as God declares war on his enemies, he has Adam load up the gun of God's image and likeness being fired into the earth, takes aim and takes his best shot. One demon falls over, and the whole hordes of all the demon masses, Satan says, "That's it. That's all you got. What else you got, old man?" The Father says, Hold, everyone, hold." 9 months later, which I won't make you wait through, God has his gun loaded up again, says, "Don't shoot till you see the whites of their eyes, boys. Headshots only." Shoots another of our enemies, and boom, another one falls. He says, "Adam, load up that single shot muzzle loader, take that ramrod and pack another round into that thing." And 9 months later, another shot. God's waging war against a flood of darkness with a single shot muzzle loader gun that takes 9 months to fire. Now, This is so ridiculous that Satan doesn't take God seriously. He just calculates that into the attrition of his ranks. It says, okay, yeah, we can handle losing one of our ranks every 9 months. I think we can keep up with this, old man, and doesn't take God seriously. Until now. So my brain doesn't quite work like a lot of people's do. It's not an abnormal brain. It's very normal to me. It's just not very common throughout society. As a result, I started thinking about, what is my Father's ultimate plan? It's to cover the earth with his glory as the waters cover the sea. I wonder how much volume of sperm is in an average ejaculation. I've shared information about this before, but this takes it to an entirely different level. I did my research and I found out that there is between 1.5 and 5.0 milliliters per male ejaculation. It's kind of the normative range. And so as of the writing of this, I'm just going to read this back in 2022. As of the writing of this, there's 7,932,261,997 people. That means on the low end, if all of the men, which we'll call half, were to ejaculate at one time, it would be 1,047,740 gallons of sperm. On the high end, the 5.0 milliliters, it would produce 5,238,704 gallons of sperm in one shot. I'm telling you, my mind and Jesus and my relationship with him, our relationship is incredibly unique. My primary prophetic voice with him is in context of covenant intimacy. You probably know that by now here in 2025. I love it. It's so beautiful. And so as I continued to talk about this with the Father, we went off on some very, very crazy calculations. I did my research, and there was a study that was done where they wanted to see how many orgasms a woman could have in a 2-hour study. Now, the woman that they had tapped out after the first hour because after 134 orgasms, she was no longer having any fun. She tapped out 134 orgasms in 1 hour. Now, the maximum number of orgasms that any male has ever been recorded as having in an hour is 16. But in the context of the spiritual, Jesus is more than able to keep up with the pleasure of his bride. She's always behind him. He's infinite in his capacity for the intimate, and says to his disciples that he has more seeds to sow into their life than they are able to bear. So what we know is that Jesus, in the spiritual context, can definitely keep up with his bride, pleasure for pleasure. In his presence is the fullness of joy, pleasures everlasting. So we're going to take 134, which is the maximum number of feminine orgasms in the physical, and we're going to add 1. It's got to be at least 1 more than the physical. At 135 orgasms per hour, and we'll say that the average release of spiritual seed is going to be +1 of what can happen in the physical, and say that it's 6 milliliters, bare minimum performance of Jesus to fill the capacity of all 7,932,400,000 people on earth, if they were all included within his bride, would have to be equal to all of their capacity to receive his pleasure. Now, men don't very often have a dry ejaculation. That's the exception, not the rule. And Jesus is definitely not dry. If his word does not return to him void of having accomplished what he sent it for, then he never sends it out that it doesn't go out from him containing what his intention was for it to go out. No dry ejaculations, from Jesus. That being considered then, in order for Jesus to match his bride of 7,932,400,000 people, if every person on the planet was a part of his bride, it would be 471,491.64, got to be precise, gallons per second. Now, from that place then, and the spiritual, it says in Joel chapter 2 that God pours out his spirit on all flesh, male and female. So that means that everyone has spiritual author ability. So if the bride then is going to match her husband gallon for gallon, that in that context, every person is a producing member in the kingdom. They all have author ability to pour forth the seed of heaven. John 14:12, he said, "You will do the works that I have been doing and greater." If that being true, then the per second capacity of Jesus to impart the life-giving flow of heaven has to be the capacity of every single person on earth who is a part of his bride. Again, taking the 7,932,400,000 person bride, every person. Oh my goodness. I don't even know what this number is. Hold on. 3 quintillion, 740 quadrillion, 60 trillion, 263 billion, 943,005 gallons of life-giving flow per second. Oh, now there are 7.481 gallons of water per cubic foot. So that would be, not even going to say that because that is so much. We're going to condense it down to miles. It would be 3,396.39 cubic miles per second. Now, God's end goal is to cover the earth with his glory as the waters cover the sea. So the Marina Trench is at 6.855 miles below the surface of the water. It's the deepest trench in all of the ocean. So I took the 6.855 miles, stacked that on top of Mount Everest, which is 5.3 miles above sea level, and then I calculated what the volume of that sphere would be from the center of the earth to 6.855 miles above the top of Mount Everest, and then subtracted the radius of the earth from that spherical volume. So that means from the surface of the earth to that distance above the top of Mount Everest, that whole swath, that whole area would be the amount of the glory of the Lord that would need to be over the whole earth to cover the whole earth, including the top of Mount Everest, in the same manner that the waters are covering the sea. Are you tracking with me? Hang with me, I know. It's super fun at that rate. 3,000, whatever it was, 3,300 some cubic miles per second flow coming out of the bride of Christ. It would take 8.19 days to fill the whole earth with the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. 6.855 miles above the top of Mount Everest. Now, Jesus says that we will do what he has been doing and greater. So within the Fibonacci sequence of 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, so on and so forth, the parable of the talents, there's 1 talent, 2. So we can do at least double according to Jesus' standard. So that would give the bride of 7,932,400,000 people, all included with his bride, releasing the full capacity of Jesus' life-giving flow in word and his authorability doubled 4.9 days to fill the earth with the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. It's just what I do, serving to please the Father's heart through the exercise of my gifts to impart grace to you that you can know him more. My job is to arise and shine, for my light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen on me, that I do what I have been called to do, to please my Father's heart, to release the light of his shining, to impart grace to you so that you can know him in the way that you are meant to, and to release grace from your life. What's my encouragement in all of this? It's the fact that my Father's plans are so far beyond genius in their perfection and moving forward that there is no end to discovering them. That where he was firing one shot every 9 months at the beginning of the world in pumping out his image and likeness into the earth to overwhelm all the powers of darkness. Headshot. 9 months later, headshot. Take your single fire muzzle loader with your ramrod, load that thing up, and wait another 9 months before you take another headshot. That here in 2025, it's even more than it was in 2022. But in 2022, the people being born into earth was consistently 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, pumping out children out of the birth canals of women at a rate of 4.5 babies per second. That's the machine gun fire of God's image and likeness being just dumped into the earth, warring against all the powers of darkness. And now Satan, he's not so carefree and lackadaisical in this war that has been declared on his empire on earth. We're on this track of, it looks like Satan's winning. Yeah, but I haven't had my turn yet. It just so happens that God has been twisting up his war on Satan's stupidity through his children and driving the giants out of the land for a long time. And he knows what he's doing. You're not going to drive them all out in a day. Building strength takes time, and we've been lifting slowly over eons upon eons. And when you're an omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent being, you're not worried. You're not in a rush to execute your plans. He's not slow in keeping his promises, as some consider slowness, but he's patient, not willing that anyone should be lost. Friends, wherever you are in your life, and it looks like darkness may be winning, it looks like God isn't doing anything, that the enemies are being forwarded off with a single shot muzzle loader that only fires every 9 months in your life, and you're getting desperate. Speak the peace and the patience and the confidence of my Father to you. He's built a machine of war to drive the giants from our inheritance in the earth that is auto-firing 24/7, 365 days a year at over 4 rounds a second. If you subscribe to what I am doing, then hit the button, hit it, and then get it. Hit the bell as well so you get notified with the new content, with the new content. And if you love this video, you didn't just like it, hit the thumbs down button. Pray blessings on our lives together. I love you guys lots. And I will see you in the next video, which starts now. Oh man, 25 minutes on the dot. That was a long one. Well worth it. Oh, I love being God's conversations. So good. I am going to reset the camera and then we will rock the next video, which might wind up being just as long as this one because it's in regards to living water out of Ezekiel 47. And there we go. I changed everything. You didn't see much, but I'm back. Got my monitor set right up here in front of my desk. Super fun. Getting all this tech dialed in. I love leaving stuff like this out that came to you all back in 2022 because a bit of a nut. Like leaving those Easter eggs out for you. Hope you guys had fun in the process because I had fun recording it for you. What's up, fam? Extraordinary Life with Elijah. And we've got a wild one for you today. Jamin is my extra, and I am the very ordinary.